which is the North Carolina Tar Heels. And as far as a revolution goes with North Carolina, I think this is a New Year's resolution that we all should we subscribe to. I think everybody across the world could subscribe to this. I think the UNC should try very hard to reconnect with an old friend. You know, sometimes we grow up, sometimes distance gets in between us and you forget those that matter. Maybe you go years without talking to someone. Maybe you don't see someone you would see, I don't know, twice, maybe 3 times a year as often as you usually do. I think Carolina needs to meet up with their old pal, Coach K. Because I think the moment that they saw Coach K last season, that swung their whole season. They were this mediocre team that just had all the talent in the world, but needed a fire lit under them to decide we want to actually go beat people. Coach K made them want to do that. This year, from what I've seen with North Carolina, it's just, do they want to show up? And I know that's oversimplifying it. I know there's larger issues than that are actually, statistically analyzable. But man, I have a hard time watching the way that backcourt plays, the way Armando Bacot has played in games prior to the Michigan game, which, by the way, they were down 7 points early to Michigan before Hunter Dickinson decided to throw an elbow, and everybody kind of looked at each other and tightened up their belt and said, let's go. So I think if they could just get a run in with Coach K, maybe that would fix everything. What do you think, RC?
I mean, to your point, I think we're all saying the same with these guys. They just didn't handle the pat on the back early in the year well, and then they handled the kick in the butt better. When everybody's telling them what they're not, they're soft, they're selfish, they're this, they're that, they're just better. But I will say this: I thought some of the criticism was an overreaction, and I said that earlier. Coming out of that break, I think it's tough going west. They were up against Iowa State. They lost a full overtime game to Alabama. You go on the road losing early in the Big Ten ACC, challenge at Indiana. It's not a bad thing, and then losing at Virginia Tech, traveling all of those are road games, and that stretch was just a bit much. They've gotten back. They've regrouped. They are a team that needs to play with an edge, though. When they get complacent, I think they'll slip up. But give them credit. They came back, got 2 Big Ten wins against 2, solid teams, and they got to come now and get in the conference play, and we'll see how it goes. But it's talent-wise, we can't question it because we've seen it just a flip, just night and day, just that quickly. We've never seen a number 1 team drop 4 straight, but you can understand it. And then they turn right back around now, and they're playing good ball. They're going to be a tough out.
Greg, I think we're starting to see here why RC is going to end up being a media superstar here. Because you know what he's perfected? He's perfected the art of, as soon as a team has their bounce back, saying that all the criticism was an overreaction. Right?
No.
Oh, look, all that criticism in North Carolina was an overreaction. All of this was an overreaction. Look, it's so hard for them to go west. Hey, RC, you know who had no problem going west? You know who had no problem with Alabama? You know who had no problem with Iowa State? Right there.
Okay.
Right there.
All right.
No, in all seriousness, I really wanted North Carolina for the there he goes for the resolution, because I was going to say that my New Year's resolution is to send Caleb Love every single negative thing that has ever been said about him on the internet, because that dude checks his mentions and checks the comments and checks the sections that you're not supposed to read as a public figure more than anybody else. Always replies to him, and as soon as he does, boom, he becomes a new player. Boom, this team becomes a different team. So, yeah, that's all I need, man. You just got to, all the criticism, if you're a North Carolina fan and you have a criticism of anybody on that roster, tag them. Normally, I say never tag the players. Tag them, because North Carolina is better when you say that they suck.
They are. They don't handle the pats on the back well. But when you challenge them, you got your hands in.
And you know what? I it's frustrating if you're a North Carolina fan, but I like that fact about them, that they are, like, there's very much this like, fuck you, watch this element to them, right? And I love teams that have that fuck you, watch this element. But the problem is they're like totally different until they get to that point. They're just not very good until they get to that point. And then once they do, it's like, oh shit, okay, we shouldn't have poked the bear.
Yeah, I hear your point about like, oh, I kind of like that, especially by the time you get to March. I think it's easy to say you kind of like that because they're going to do it every time on paper, in theory, right? They'll show up every game. But I would just like it more if they did it more. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw there was a feature on Hubert Davis that came out a couple weeks ago that had some in-depth information on him bringing back an old Smith era policy where no one's allowed to use profanity within the walls of the North Carolina basketball facilities. Less than 24 hours after that feature article was published, Armando Bacot took to Instagram and said, quote, "Fuck it, I'm a die lit." So I just want to throw that out there. That's the type of reporting that you come to the Field of 68 After Dark for. I will continue to analyze North Carolina's ability to use profanity throughout the year. RC, my one question to you, and then we can move to the final team on our list. Given all of North Carolina's ups and downs, and given the questions we have around will they show up tonight or not, would you put Miami ahead of them as far as ACC title contenders this season?
I think it's fair to say, obviously, Miami's been more consistent. I can see it. But again, how do you can't doubt a team that's made the Final Four run that they have. You can say what you want. And I said that, I'm going back at Rob. I said that right after the Virginia Tech game. And I called it then. I was like, man, listen, because matter of fact, even on the show one time, because I questioned, look at all the teams that go west. When they come back east, they're going to struggle. And we even said Purdue didn't, but I was like, yeah, Purdue barely won at Florida State. It was like a 5-point game, but no, I mean, it's doable. I mean, Miami's a good team. They're legit. I mean, they got scores, they got dudes, they're efficient. The only the problem they're going to have is just the size and length of, how Carolina play. A lot of that'll be, with Armando. He's a handful inside, we'll see. And then the other kid I want to see more of them is how effective or how quickly does Jalen Washington come along. Like, he's another guy that can really shoot it. I've seen him before. He can really shoot it, but again, coming off multiple ACL injuries from high school and then finally getting cleared to play. Let's see how he progresses now and what he looks like as they get in the conference play.
Yeah, so I do think that Miami's probably the favorite to win the league right now. Part of that is because they play Louisville twice, and they play Boston College twice, and they play Florida State twice. Part of that is because they only play Virginia once, and they already got Virginia. And part of it is just because, I think that they have they have the best. Yeah, they have the best backcourt. They have a coach that just kind of says, okay, you guys can rock. They got the foreman that kind of opens everything up, and we still haven't seen life wallet Nigel Pack yet. We've seen broke wallet Nigel Pack so far. So.
Wow. Well, no, we're gonna see. I'm with you on that. We're gonna see what he does. If he plays the way he's played in the past, then they're gonna be a tough out. But as we know, it's so crazy in this league. I would have never thought BC would have beat Virginia Tech when they did the way BC.
I can't believe after all the shit that I talked to you about BC losing to Maine.
Oh, I started to.
BC
I wanted to call
New Hampshire. I can't believe you did not say anything, man. I was sitting here the whole night waiting for my phone, waiting for the text. I'm like,
I was going to talk so much shit to you, but I said, I'm going to leave him alone. I ain't even going to mess with him.
Somebody make sure that we clip Rob calling the Miami backcourt the best backcourt in this league and send that to Caleb Love.